I'm going to teach you guys a little bit about how to buy your first rental property or flip or whatever you're trying to do in real estate using your credit line. So we're going to cover investment strategies, which ones are the best ones for you, how to find good cities to invest in, and how to tell which properties are actually profitable or not. So the first thing is to figure out why you want to invest. And so if you're trying to use your lines of credit right now to potentially make a lot more money ASAP, then you want to do something like fixing and flip or wholesaling. If you're someone who wants more passive income, you're going to do some form of buy and hold, which would be a long-term rental property or an Airbnb. You could do medium-term rentals, which are like renting them out to travel nurses or people who are coming to work in an area, or people who are moving to an area. You could do rent by the room like that. So once you know what your strategy is, the second step is to pick a city based on data. And so when I was living in New York City, I couldn't afford anything around me because an apartment that was garbage was like $700K. And so I started looking outside of New York City. These are a few of the questions I would ask myself. What areas have you lived in before, worked in, visited or still visit frequently? Areas you've heard of are growing like crazy. Areas you know that other people are investing. You could ask ChatGPT, but there've been some garbage results from that. And looking at blog posts, Google, and Bigger Pockets to see where other people are investing. You come up with a list of cities, and once you have the list of cities, what you're gonna end up doing is putting it on a sheet like this. We're gonna look at crime rates, unemployment rates, population growth, home price, rent price, price to rent ratio, property taxes, landlord friendliness, and then you would look at every city, and then you basically give them a score. What I would do after looking at the spreadsheet is ideally I would pick one of the cities using the score. So in this scenario, I would look at the overall score and the one that was lower. The lowest one was Boulder and Oklahoma City were tied. Then I would look deeper at the data, and Boulder's average price is $988. So I would say, okay, I'm not gonna invest in Boulder, I'm gonna choose Oklahoma City out of these cities because I can afford a $199,000 average property. Once I've done that, then the next step is to either go to the area for a weekend, which I've done multiple times. You go for a day or two, just so you could like see what's going on, meet a real estate agent, meet a property manager, that kind of thing. You can do that if you want, or you can use like your Hood Maps or Google Maps or Neighborhood Scout. These are all these places that have neighborhood level data that you can see crime rates and all this stuff. So once you've figured out the location, next step is to worry about your funding. And so unless you have tons of cash, you're gonna need a loan. Your objective is to end up getting a pre-approval letter. This is just an example pre-approval letter that I used when I was trying to buy a duplex or triplex in New York City. So there's a few different types of loans, and based on what strategy you're gonna use different types of loans. If you're doing any sort of flipping or the BRRRR strategy that I was talking about, you're gonna use a hard money, a private lender, or a partner. Now the key here is that you either sell the property to get out of that loan or you refinance it, which is when we come into the second thing, which is the BRRRR. And then when you refinance and keep it as a rental, or if you're just buying rental straight out, there's conventional loans, which looks at your W-2 income or business income for 2 years. Make sure you got good credit. Make sure you have low debts and good income. This is a lot harder to get approved for most people. DSCR, on the other hand, is what I use. You're gonna pay slightly higher interest rate, but it's a lot easier to get approved, and it's based off of your credit score and the ratio of the rent to the PITI. So once you got that pre-approval letter, basically you're good to start looking at properties and try to find which ones are profitable. And so you got to find a real estate agent first that understands the numbers behind investing. They understand what you're looking for. I'm looking for small multifamily homes in C+ areas that are less than 200K that could use some work. And then we'll act quick and be responsive, because you will lose properties if you don't act quick. The good ones will go. So the flipping formula and the wholesale formula are pretty close together. There's only one number difference. What you're solving for is what offer you're going to put on the property. That's your max allowable offer, meaning how high can I go on my offer? The way you figure that out is 0.7 times the after repair value. The after repair value is what the house is worth once it's fixed up. 0.7 is representing 70% of that value, so you can have a 30% profit margin. So then you need to subtract out of that number your holding costs, closing costs, and repair costs. So estimating your rehab costs, this will come from a contractor estimate. Typically you get 3 contractors to walk through so you can get quotes and compare against each other. And there's a good book on this called How to Estimate Rehab Costs by Jay Scott. Quick example, if you're flipping, if the property once fixed up is going to be worth 200K, repairs are 50K, closing costs are about 10K, and your holding costs for 3 months are about 3K, the formula would be this. And your max allowable offer would be 77K. This is why you have to put a lot of offers in, and most houses are not gonna work, because most sellers are not gonna take this offer. But if you find a seller who has been trying to sell, has a situation, needs to get out quick, You can get an offer like that. The only difference between that and wholesaling is, as a wholesaler, you need to include your wholesale fee. So sometimes that's 5K, 10K, 20K. Now, if you're gonna do rentals and you're gonna do BRRRRs, you need to remember all of that, and you need to learn this formula too. So what we're solving for is cash flow, just profit. That's basically it. So a basic example is if your income was 3,000, your expenses were 2,700, your cash flow is 300. The other metric I use to measure an investment is cash on cash return on investment. So it takes your pre-tax annual cash flow, which basically just means all the cash flow you make year one before taxes. You divide that by your total acquisition cost, which is rehab, down payment, and closing costs. If I make only $1,000 in profit for the entire year, but it costs me $100,000 to buy a house, it's 1%. If I make $10,000 in profit on $100,000, that's 10%. That's good. I use Rentometer to figure out my rents on a property. So that's your income. These are all of your expenses. Mortgage, taxes, property taxes. You get this information on Trulia or Zillow, or you can get it on PropStream, or you can get it from the county website, or your real estate agent might have it on the MLS listing. Insurance, same thing. You can call an insurance broker or get an insurance agent to give you a quote pretty quickly. I use a company called NREIG, but there's other companies called like Steadily that also do the same thing. You fill out the information about the property, and then they'll give you a quote later that day. HOA fees, just do me a favor and don't buy properties in HOAs. They're garbage. Property management. These three, repairs, CapEx, and vacancy, are savings that you put to the side for potential costs that are gonna come up. Repairs and capital expenditures, they could seem like the same thing, but repairs and capital expenditures are just looked differently in the tax code. Capital expenditures are anything that you can depreciate from the property. Capital expenditures are the big things that need to get done to the property that technically increase the value of it. Repairs are like fixing the sink, painting some botches on the wall, or fixing a hole in the wall. On average, on the low end for all of these, I would save 5% of the rent. So it would total up to 15% of all of my rental income would come to these. Vacancy is the biggest expense that'll hurt you. So making sure that you save money for all of these things is really important. So how the process works, you're gonna look at them online, you're gonna analyze them using the formulas we just used. If the analyzing works, you're gonna take some notes on like things that you think might be able to be improved or changed, and then you're gonna choose the ones you want to see based on initial numbers, and then you're gonna see them with your agent virtually, or if you live in the market, you can go look at it that way.